Morning. I'm glad you're here. Thanks for joining me, Krista. Today we're going to talk about communication and kids. And so yesterday we finished up the day talking about time and time management. And I hope you were able to kind of find a calendar or a planner, something that will help you make your time a little better, more organized. And today, this one I feel is very, very important also, which is communication, because the better that we communicate with our kids, the easier it's going to be as they get older, and the better your relationship will be with them as they turn into an adult. So I hope you went through the questions I had on the workbook. There was several questions or just kind of prompts for you to think about in how you communicate with your kids. And so if you do have any comments or questions about that, make sure you put them in the comments as you're watching this, even if you're watching it on the replay, because we'll see those. But the reason I chose these questions specifically is because these are really important things to be thinking about when you are communicating with your kids. So we'll go through that in a minute. So let's go ahead and get started. So for a second, while you're watching, I want you to be thinking about your communication with your kids. How old is your child? Are they a toddler? Are they like middle age, where they're like that 8 to 10? Are they teenagers? What is your communication style with your kids? What is communication like in your house? And while you're thinking, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. Maybe if I can find the thing. Right, hold on. Why am I not seeing the share screen thing today? Right, I found it. All right, so we're day 3. So we talked about time, using our time wisely, coming up with a calendar or management system that's going to help you through your day. I also wanted to share a little bit about the next program I'm going to be offering. So starting in August, I'm going to be doing a 3-week reset for your family, which will be individualized. It'll be group. It's going to be a real, like, intense, comprehensive program that's going to really help you with the behavior of your children, communicating with them, everything that you need to help your family move to a place that is healthy, makes you feel less overwhelmed, and helps you just be content with what's happening in your life. So it's going to be a 3-week boot camp that starts August 1st. We're going to be talking about the developmental stages that your children are in to help you with behavior. You're going to learn why the different stages things happen, how to help move to the next stage in a successful way. We're also going to be talking about routines for your family and how you can stay consistent. Pricing will be $14.97, but because this is brand new, it's my first boot camp that I'm doing, we're going to start at $9.97. And if you pay in full, you will get one-on-one time weekly with me. There's going to be a Q&A thread and also group sessions weekly. So if you're interested in this, you can put a comment below, or you can send me a direct message and we can talk about how that could look for you. So it starts August 1st. So let me know if you're interested. All right, so communication and how to make it work well in your family. So there's 5 key points I feel that are important when communicating with kids. Taking time to listen, having no judgment in the conversations or interactions, reflection, using eye contact, being clear and concise, and assertive. So those 5 components to communication, if you're able to do those well, it's going to help a lot with your interactions with your kids. So for communication, if you're thinking about taking time to listen, you don't need to be in a hurry. You need to slow down and make time. Remember, these are kids and kids need time. A lot of times, if you're having a kid that's struggling, the biggest thing they need is time, because the next thing you're going to do could be humming too fast, or transitions are hard for them. So slow down and make time and really listen. Listen for understanding. So when you're listening to them, don't be thinking about what you're going to tell them, either no or yes, or you can't do that. You just need to listen to try to understand why they're saying what they're saying to you. And I'm going to give you an example. So yesterday, my son came home from school, and the first thing he says to me is, I need a computer. And so I already know he needs a computer, but we were kind of waiting till we talked to the teacher and we figured out what he needed. But the way he said it was, he was very stressed out. He was very angry. He was very disrespectful. So instead of me stating back, well, we've already talked about that. You already know we're waiting for the teacher to get back with us. It's only the second day of school. I stopped and I said, I understand you really want a computer. So I listened to what he was saying and listened for understanding, which was that he really wants a computer. And he even stated to me after that, he said, I don't want to be different than the other kids. All the other kids have a computer but me. And so I even said, I understand that must be really hard. So I was listening to what he was saying, even though I already knew the answer to what he was speaking to me about. The next thing to do when you're communicating is no judgment. So stop and think about your state of mind. Avoid opinions that are positive or negative. Offer acceptance and use a positive body language. So for my example yesterday, I had just got home. And so I was just like wanting to chill for a second. And so when he came to me so quickly, I had to really stop and think about like, okay, he's very stressed out right this second. So let's just listen. Let's not offer my opinion of like, you're just trying to be like everyone else. You don't need to be like other people. You need to be an individual. So I needed to avoid my thoughts, my opinions about it. I offered acceptance in that, yes, I understand you really want a computer. I get that. That's something that you really feel like you need right now. And I also was looking at him and I was standing there and I didn't have my phone out. So I was facing him with my body and just being very present with him. The next one is reflection. So I do a lot of that. And so what I did with him is I just kept reflecting back. And so I was listening to what he was saying, and then I was stating it in my own words. So he's like, I really need a computer. It's not fair. I don't have the computer. So I listened and I stated back, I understand you don't think it's fair. You don't have your own computer. It's really hard for you. You want to be like all the other kids. Yes, it's not fair. All the other kids have a computer. I understand they all have a computer. It's making you really angry. So the other thing I did that I don't have on here that I'm going to get into more when we do my boot camp is feelings. And I usually put a feeling word in some type of communication when I'm talking with my son about something he's upset about, because then he can identify, yes, he is angry. And so in our interaction, then I was like, you're very angry. You don't have your own computer. So then he's able to state, yes, I'm really angry. I don't have my computer. It's not fair. And so then we went through it again. So kind of, we went back and forth a few times until he was able to regulate himself and he knew I heard what he was saying. I also, because after a while I was getting kind of annoyed, but I continued to avoid distractions. I continued to look at him. I continued to use positive body language, and I avoided using my phone. I was also very clear and concise at the end of the conversation. So the way we ended it was basically like, I know you need a new computer. You didn't say need. I said, I know you would like a new computer. We are not doing that tonight. I heard what you said. This is very hard for you and you're angry about it. Do you have anything else you want to tell me? And he was like, no. I said, what would you like to do now? He said, I want to go watch TV. All right, go watch TV for 15 minutes. And then we'll move to the next thing, which was taking a shower. So the way I ended it was very assertive. I was very transparent and I did not waver on what we were talking about. So he knows that about me because we've been doing this for 9 years now. So if you've never done this, it is going to be harder because kids aren't used to it, right? He's used to it for 9 years of his life. This is the same thing we've been doing. But even if you have a 9 or 10-year-old, it's not too late. You can still do this. It just might be a little more challenging and they're not going to be used to you talking like this. So they're going to be kind of confused at first, and it takes practice. So give yourself some grace when you do it, because it is going to take some practice. It does take time and you might mess up, and that's okay. Start again the next time. I think the biggest thing is just not wavering and being very clear before you start the conversation or on what your thought is of how it's going to end. in what you already know the answer is, and do not go back because they've convinced you. You don't want them to feel like they are able to convince you, because when they're 16 or 17, there's going to be things they're going to try to convince you on that you really don't want them to do. And you're going to put your foot down, and it's going to be too late because you've done so much of letting them have their own way to start with. At that point, they are not really going to care what you say. So as early as you can start this is the best. All right. So here's how it's going to help. So if you think about your child now, think about when they're 17 or 18, the hardest times would be like that high school, right? Because they're becoming their own person. You're wanting them to make their own choices. You're wanting them to do their own things, but you're also going to want them to communicate with you. And you also want them to respect you. So if you build all this in those first 13 years, hopefully it'll be easier by the time they become that age. So how is it going to help? Listening to them is going to build respect. And it's also going to model a good habit, because if you're listening to them, you can ask for that, right? Like, I'm listening to you. I hear what you're saying. I now need you to listen to me. So it models a good habit. It builds respect. When you're using no judgment and not offering your opinions, they feel accepted. It reduces their anxiety, which is going to cause them to just naturally relax. And it's also going to reduce their fear. And they're going to become less defensive in the conversation. Reflection. Whenever you're talking to them and you're reflecting back what they're saying, it's going to show them that you understand what they're saying and that you hear them. That's the biggest thing with kids, is they need to feel like they're being heard. And if they don't feel like that, that's when you get the talking back. That's when you get slamming doors. That's when you get very angry children. So showing you understand, showing you hear them with reflecting back. Like, I hear what you're saying, what you're telling me is, that's going to help them know that you're paying attention. So using the eye contact and body language, it improves understanding. And it also shows love, right? It's showing them that you do care, that you are looking at them. You're not on your phone scrolling. You're not on your computer working. You're actually paying attention to what they're saying and listening in a way that shows direct contact with your eyes and your body. Using the clear and concise and being assertive, part of communication. It reduces the manipulation. It avoids a misunderstanding, and it decreases conflict. So for my example that I gave you yesterday about my son and the computer, at the end of that conversation, I was very clear in that we are not buying a computer today. I understand that you're upset. Do you have any other questions? So he knew. I was very clear. I was very concise and assertive. Now, that doesn't mean today we're not going to have the same conversation when he comes home, which we probably will. And so we'll do the same thing all over again. And so this will help decrease the conflict, because today's conversation with him is going to go a lot quicker. I already know, because we did it yesterday, and it might not even come up today because he knows my stance on it yesterday. But kids like to keep coming back to things. So I won't be surprised if he ends up coming back with the same request today. So if you have any questions, this is a lot. So if you have any questions about this, or ways to do it better, or specific problems you're having, you can send me an email or a direct message, and I definitely will help you. All right, so these are the questions that were in the workbook that you got. And so we're going to look at those again, and we're going to kind of go through them. So the first question, how much do you say no? Sometimes no is a trigger word for children. So trying to figure out ways not to say no is helpful. So that can go back to those communication. Let me show you. Hold on, let me go back. Those communication skills. So by saying no initially, whenever you haven't done this whole 5 steps, shows that none of this is happening. It doesn't show you're listening. It doesn't show it shows that you have some judgment about it. They're not feeling accepted. You're not reflecting. You could be using eye contact, and you are being clear, but it's in a way that doesn't have those other things. So it's going to cause them to have more conflict and be upset. How many times do you say, let me help you? So let me help you offers them a chance to do something on their own without you taking over, which gives them the chance to be independent. So this is another phrase that's really helpful if you have a child that wants to be independent, that needs help still. So let me help you, or can I help you, is also very helpful. How many times do you give praise or criticism? whenever think about this in a way as positive or negative, or also the judgment piece of avoiding your opinion. So when you think about the praise or criticism, that has to do with offering an opinion. And so a lot of times you can say, you might have a child that came home and was like, look, I made a piece of art today. What do you think of it? Then you could respond, wow, you worked really hard on that art. You worked really hard on that picture. I can tell by all the colors you did and all the detail. Wow, that took you a lot of time. And then you could even ask them, what do you think about it? So don't give your opinion about that. Like you can avoid giving opinions so they can build their own intrinsic opinion. Physical contact and giving directives for punishment, that I know some people still do. All I can say about that is research shows it does not work. It just makes kids angry. So I don't advise that, but I know some people use it a lot. A better way is to use those 5 steps we just went through. Do you accept your children's words or opinion? How much time do you spend on your phone? This is just kind of paying attention to what you're doing with your phone. I think our phones take up so much time, and we just are all, even the kids, drawn to them, and we don't even realize when we're on it, when we're trying to have a conversation. Do you talk about feelings? This is another huge component that I didn't really get into much during this masterclass, but we will talk about that going forward. Feelings are really important to build into a family system, into communication. How much time do you spend listening to your kids as they're trying to tell you something? And this kind of goes back to those 5 key points. Do you ever role play? Role playing comes in a lot of times whenever maybe there is issues at school with friends, social skills, things like that. You could even do parent role plays with an issue they're having with you. It's a great way to work things out without them feeling that it's directed directly at them. Do you ever point out how you think they're feeling? Do your questions to your kids extend interaction? And that means trying to do questions, the open-ended ones that we've all learned about over the years with our active listening, is just asking questions that are more than just yes or no. How much reflecting do you do as a mom? And so that's thinking about your day, like at the end of the day, or even the mornings, just think about, how did the communication go that day? How much do I feel that I am contributing to some of the behavior happening at home? And then what else do you notice about your communication with your kids? So these are really great questions to reflect on and think about as you move forward with your family. One last thing I wanted to talk about was a case that I had. And so the reason I like this case is because it shows how changing the way you communicate can change behavior. So this is about a girl named Jennifer, and she has an adopted son, and they were struggling with him when she came to see me. He wasn't listening, following directives without arguing or crying. He had a hard time connecting to her physically and rarely wanted to be touched or hugged. We worked together for about 3 years. And through that time, she was able to use language with him that helped him feel safe and secure. He was able to feel heard and not feel like he was being ignored or disregarded. So she used those skills that I just went through, those 5 skills. She began to flip her initial reactions to empathy rather than anger. So that goes back to kind of what we talked about the first and second day, using empathy and knowing the why. So we talked a lot about the why he would be acting like this, what his life was like before he was adopted, why. And so that helped her, instead of getting mad all the time, she was able to really have some empathy and think about the past. Here's an example of a couple things that would happen is, like, after school, he'd be playing, mom calls him in, or somebody calls him because he hit someone. Then it clicks in her mind, like, wow, he's been at school all day. Now he's out school again. So outside again. So his patience is much shorter, and he just needs to come inside. Sure, you want your kids to go out after, but she learned then that he cannot handle it, even if he thinks he can. Remember, their brains are still small. And so you're the one that has to take control and be assertive. So you have to make the decision, this is just too much for him. And she's learned that. And she also used the language, John, I see you're angry and that you do not want to come inside. I understand you were having fun with the kids and you not want it to be over yet. And so she just prompted him to bring him inside. And that's just an example of one of the things that we worked on. Once inside and he's calm, they could discuss how he was angry and that he used his hands to hit and that was unkind, and that he'll just do better next time. And of course, there are many next times with similar results, but now it's much better and it's a work in progress. So think about that with your kids and with your families. It's always a work in progress, and that in time and with consistency, it gets better. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go back to the 5 keys. And so this is what the whole masterclass was built around, is just the 5 keys, which was the communication we talked about today quite a bit, the emotional intelligence. And this part I did not hit on as much, which I will in the next program I do. This is very, very important. Connection, how you connect physically or emotionally as a family, which can connect with the communication. Structure, how you structure your family life, and then time, the way you value time as a family. These are the 5 keys that I feel are the most important to help a family be healthy. So I just wanted to share that with you. And if you have any questions or any thoughts or opinions, please, please, please let me know. And I also would love for you, if you got the workbook, and I know a lot of you have, please fill out the survey at the end. You just click on it. It's going to take you to a Google survey. I would love any feedback, even if you're not on here live. The feedback is so helpful for me to move forward and to be able to help other families. So please leave feedback with that link at the end of the workbook. It will be really helpful for me to know what was helpful, what wasn't helpful, what you liked about this, what you didn't like about this. And please be honest, because that's what I need. I need honesty so I know what to do better next time. So the 3-week boot camp starts August 1st. We're going to be talking about the developmental stages that help with behavior, and that, or learn about them so that can help with behavior, and then the routines for your family, and then staying consistent. And we're going to build a lot of emotional intelligence into this program, just to help with that more, and then the communication and how to build that. So thank you so much for joining this masterclass. I do hope it was helpful. Leave your comments below. Please fill out the review at the end of the workbook. And again, if you have any questions or need advice on specific instances, please let me know. And I hope you guys have a great afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Bye.